The night shift, those hours when most of the world is fast asleep. But that's also when the strange things start to surface. If you've ever worked alone past midnight, you know that chill down your spine doesn't always come from the AC, but from something else, something just outside your line of sight. In tonight's video, I'll share 4 true stories that happened during night shifts, moments that the people involved wish they had never taken that shift. Story 1. The man who followed me in the storm. I used to work night shifts at a small hotel on the outskirts of town. Most guests stayed only one night. The place was eerily quiet, especially when it rained. That night, a violent storm rolled in. Wind howled like something trying to crawl in. The power-flickered hallway lights dimmed and the security feed kept cutting out. I sat alone behind the front desk, listening to the rain tap against the glass roof. Part of me hoped no one else would show up. Of course, someone did. Around 11 p.m., a man walked in, soaked, wearing an old raincoat. But strangely, no bags, no luggage. He asked for a towel to dry his hair, he said. I handed him one, but he didn't leave. He stood there scanning the lobby, not like a curious visitor, more like someone looking for something they'd seen before. How long have you worked here? He asked, never breaking eye contact. I laughed it off. A few months, I said, avoiding his stare. Before walking out, he turned, looked up at the security camera, and smiled. Not a warm smile, a cold one, empty, like he was saying goodbye to me. My shift ended around 1 a.m. I grabbed my keys and exited through the back door that led into an alley. The rain had stopped, but the air was heavy and damp. As I walked, I heard footsteps. At first, I thought they were mine, but then I stopped, and the steps stopped too. I continued, intentionally changing my pace. The other steps stayed in rhythm, just slightly delayed, as if someone was following but trying not to be caught. I clutched my phone, heart pounding. Near the parking lot, I heard a rustle from behind an SUV. Before I could react, a figure leapt out. It was him. No raincoat, no polite demeanor, just wild eyes and bare arms. Remember me? He grinned, pulling something from his coat, a box cutter. I screamed and threw my purse at him, bolting back toward the hotel. I heard steps behind me, but when I looked over my shoulder, he was gone. Police arrived minutes later. They searched the area. No sign of anyone. A week later, I was called in to identify a suspect. They lined up several men. Each said the same thing. Remember me. None of the voices matched. Until the last man. He looked right at me, smiled, and winked. I froze. I wanted to scream, to point, but my mouth wouldn't open. I stepped back and whispered, "It's none of them." The cops were disappointed, but I wasn't, because I knew he knew I knew, and I believe one day he'll return, not for a towel, but for something I'll never get back. Story 2. The knocking at room 3. Night shifts at a roadside motel were usually uneventful. The quieter the night, the easier it was to spot something strange. After 11 p.m., I was the only staff left, front desk security, even housekeeping if needed. That night, we had just 3 rooms occupied. I was in the back office going over paperwork when at 1:47 a.m. I heard knocking. Not at the front door, but from room 3. According to the panel showing door activity. Oddly, no one from room 3 had called. I tried phoning the room, no answer. I checked the hallway camera, but that one had been glitchy for weeks. So I grabbed my flashlight and stepped into the hall. The knocking continued, slow, steady, unnerving. But as I neared the room, it stopped. I knocked gently. "Everything all right in there?" No response. I unlocked the door. The room was empty. Bed made. No luggage. But here's the thing, the guest in room 3 had checked out earlier that afternoon. I stepped back, heart pounding. Then I saw a figure at the far end of the hall, blurry, out of focus. I flicked on my flashlight, it sputtered, but for a split second the beam hit his face, pale white, hollow black eyes that didn't blink. I ran back toward the office. That's when the knocking resumed, this time on the office door behind me. I didn't leave that desk for the rest of the night. All the lights stayed on, alarm system fully armed, but whatever that thing was, it never left. Story 3. The guest who wasn't on the record. I worked at a boutique hotel, part of a quiet resort chain. Off-season meant fewer guests and lonelier nights. One night I received a call from room 214. A man asked for extra towels. I confirmed and headed up. The door was ajar. I knocked softly, no answer. I stepped inside, dark room, faint glow coming from the bathroom. I set the towels on the bed, turned to leave, and heard the shower running. I left the towels, I said aloud. Silence. Then I checked the guest list. Room 214 wasn't booked that night. I backed out, locked the door, called my manager. When they came to check, the room was empty, towels untouched. No internal call was ever placed from room 214. The hallway camera. No one had entered that wing in the past 4 hours. The next night I heard knocking from room 214, but this time I didn't answer. Story 4. The woman by the coffee machine. I worked at a 24-hour convenience store near a gas station in the suburbs. That night, no customers for hours. I was alone. Close to 3 a.m., the glass door slid open. A woman walked in, tall, long hair covering her face, wearing a white nightgown, barefoot. She didn't say a word. She just stood, staring at the coffee machine. I asked if she needed help. No reply. After a few minutes, she turned and walked toward the exit. But when I checked the monitor, she wasn't there. I rewound the feed. Nothing. No one walked in. No one walked out. The next morning, I told my manager. His face went pale. He took me outside and pointed to a missing persons flyer tacked to the staff board. It was her. A woman who vanished 7 years ago right here. Same store. Since then, they always schedule 2 workers for the 2 to 5 a.m. shift. Not because it's busy, but because no one wants to be the only one who sees her again. If you've ever worked a night shift alone, you probably know. The fear doesn't always come from what you see, but from what you can't. The silent figures in the dark, the restless spirits still lingering, or sometimes, the people more terrifying than any ghost. If you've ever experienced something strange during a night shift, share your story in the comments. And if you're still awake at this hour, don't forget to lock your door.